Welcome back, everybody. Come join us this morning. We're getting ready to go grind some cow feed. Got my feed sacks loaded up. I got some dried molasses here, and I got a bag of minerals that we'll be adding into the feed. But let's pull down here and hook up to this trailer, and I'll show you what we're going to be grinding. All right, y'all, don't line me up back here. It wouldn't be right if something didn't have a flat tire, would it? All right, so what we've got right here is the corn y'all watched us pick last fall. We probably should have done something with it, but we've been picking out good ears, grinding some cornmeal. We've picked out the good ears for the seed stock for this year. And
if you don't know, this is Andy's landrace corn that he's been working on the last, what, 4
yeah, 4 or 5 years, something like that. It is an heirloom type, or an open pollinated type corn. I don't guess it's technically an heirloom anymore because I've got it mixed up so much. We've got all this right here. We've decided to turn it into cow feed. Now this is cob corn, and cob corn, in my opinion, I mean, I guess you could, but in my opinion, it wouldn't be suitable to grind for hog feed. You would want shelled corn. And being that we don't have an easy means to shell this much corn, we've just decided to turn it into cow feed. We always, growing up, we would grind our cob corn for the cows, and we would take shelled corn for the pigs. That's how we've always done it. Why? I have no idea. As y'all know, y'all seen the videos, like some of the corn just didn't turn out that great. Now a lot of it actually looks pretty good, but then I didn't have my picker set right either, so it didn't husk it the way it's supposed to. But I mean, like right there's a good example of a not good ear, but
It'll be fine for the cows.
yeah, it'll be diluted down by the time we get done with it. So we are going to grind this, and then also we got to go up to my daddy's to do this. Also, we're going to take, we already have some shelled corn up there in the grain bin, and we're going to let some of that run in with this. I wish all of them looked about like that right there. Of course, that one's still messed up on the end, but that's a pretty good looking ear of corn. But there's a lot of that in there. Like I said, it's just covered up in a shuck, which the shuck will grind too. So let's go up there and get set up, and we'll show you how all this goes down. Jacob's got to get Daddy's tractor moved out of the way here. Will you guide this? All right, you know how it goes, right? That gonna work? I think that'll work. Oh yeah.
Not as bad as I pushed it. You get it straight when you
So this is what you call a hammer mill. It's a feed mill. Runs off the PTO on the tractor. You put your corn and stuff in on over there on the other side. This part right here is what does the grinding. There's little knives in there that just beat around really fast, and they push that corn or whatever you put in there through a screen. And that's what you got a screen, which we've actually got to change the screen out, but you've got a screen in there that's got different size holes, and it pushes the feed through, or pushes the corn through that and busts it into whatever size hole you've got set up in your screen. Then it goes into this bin right here, and it's like a mixing tank, and then the molasses and the minerals that I talked about a while ago, you add in through here, and that just pulls it right into this hopper up here. And then when we go to bag it, it'll come out this chute right here. But anyways, let's get that screen changed out. All right, and for anybody concerned about the tractor running and it possibly getting engaged into gear, it can't happen. Well, for number one, the PTO's not in gear, but there's also a mechanism right here that puts the whole machine in gear, and it is unlatched. So even if this PTO kicked on, it's not going to turn anything inside of this box right here that could potentially hurt me. So you see that screen? Got those little bitty holes in it? That's for hog feed. Then this screen right here, you see how much bigger those holes are. And so from my understanding, you don't want a really fine cow feed, because the cow feed inside of the stomach of a cow, it'll set up if it's really fine. So we use a coarser screen, so the feed itself is not near as fine a feed. Be more of a coarse feed. As you can see, this right here is what does all the damage. Those little knives hang around, and they sling around, and your corn will be coming in from that direction, and it pushes it through these holes right down to that auger right there and up into this bin. All right, put it in gear and she'll be ready to go. So to put it in gear, all you do is push in that pin, lock it. Now the grinder portion of this thing will turn when I put the tractor PTO in gear. Let's get the, before I turn it up, let's get the trailer backed in here, over there to where we can shovel it in. All right, let's crank it up. So now I'm going to unhook, or I'm going to disengage the grinder part of it, and that'll just let the mixing tank run. And I'm going to pull it out here into the level and just kind of let everything inside this tank mix up for a few minutes, and then we'll be sacking it. So now with that disengaged, when I turn the PTO on the tractor on, all it does is spin the auger that's inside this mixing tank. And that'll just let everything mix. Right there's a sneak peek at what our feed's gonna look like. That's a lot darker feed than what I'm used to seeing.
I wondered what it would look like with that in there. Ready?
Yeah. Smells like a, well, I guess it's that molasses that really made it sweet smell.
Yeah.
Smells like something we supposed to eat.
I know.
Well, we got it all ground up, sat. I guess we'll take it back to the house and tie some strings around it. But I tell you, it's a pretty good looking feed. I can't wait to show you. Well, here's another reason you always keep your hay strings. We use them to tie our feed sacks. This may sound sort of pitiful. The reason I didn't tie it up there where we was at is because the sun was blaring down on us. And I'm going to tell you, here it is, 1st of April. And man, it's got hot. I ain't quite used to this. So I wanted to come up here and get in the shade. I know that sounds kind of pitiful, but I guess it just is what it is. Alright, that should be plenty to tie everything up. Before I get to tying it, I want to show you what it looks like. You can see the cracked corn in it. Some of that stringy stuff you see is from the cob, but a lot of it is the hay y'all saw us putting in there. And I wish y'all could smell it because of that molasses we put in it. That really makes it smell good. But you see those bigger chunks like, oh, that's a piece of corn. Never mind. That's a piece of corn. Right there. That's a piece of cob right there at the end of my thumb. And that's okay. I remember when my daddy, or when I was little, Daddy always called those little pieces of cob. He said, that's just a filler. But like I said, the cob honestly serves no nutritional value.
So after further research about the corn cobs, it really piqued my interest when Andy said in that video that you can grind up corn cobs. They do better for cows than they do for pigs. And I was like, why? Things like that just really interest me. So I got to looking it up, and I'm going to read y'all this, and I found this very interesting. So yes, corn cobs do have nutritional value for cattle. They provide fiber and energy, though less than the corn kernels themselves. They're a really good source of roughage for ruminants. The cows can digest them because of the way their chambered stomachs work, and they can break down the fiber. Corn cobs are a good source of roughage, which is important for digestive health of ruminants. And they contain essential components of protein, fiber, and carbohydrates, providing energy to the cattle. And I just thought that was so interesting. And cattle find corn cobs palatable and edible, and there is also something called earlage, which some of y'all may know is fermented corn cobs that are fed to cattle. And I just thought that was really cool, and I wanted to insert this in this video.
And y'all, that's the difference between me and her. I knew, just because of Daddy always telling me, that corn cobs were fine to feed to cattle. It never really bothered me why. I just knew it. And Megan needed to know why. So there you have it.
Yep.
Now, back to the video. That does smell good though. My goodness. And it's so weird looking because I'm used to seeing feed ground from just regular yellow corn. And seeing this ground with the darker colored corn where it's got red corn in it, you know, it had white corn in it, it had some yellow in it. I mean, for y'all that's followed us, you know that the corn that I raise is like a multicolored corn. And it looks so funny because this is the first time I've ever ground any type of feed from that corn. So that's so cool. But it makes the feed look a whole lot darker. That's what I meant. That's what I'm trying to say is the feed's a lot darker feed than traditionally ground from yellow corn feed is. So let's get these sacks tied up here. And then here a little bit later on when it gets time to feed the cows, we will try it out. So to transition, I mean, our cows have had some of the homemade feed before. I've fed them some of Daddy's homemade feed. So it's not going to be completely new to them. But we are going to slowly transition them because for the last several months, all our cows have had is the store-bought sweet feed. And so we will kind of slowly introduce this feed to them. And honestly, with the amount of feed we've got right here for no more cows than what we have, this is probably going to last us a while. So I don't know how long this is going to last, but this is going to last a while. When I get done tying, we'll count everything and see how many sacks we actually ended up with. So I'm going to do my best to show y'all how to tie a feed sack. I know it may seem somewhat obvious, but there is a special knot you use to tie a feed sack. So I always like to get it pinched up like that right there, and then I kind of bring it all together, keep it good and tight. All right, see, hold my pinky out, put that string under there, leave these two fingers out like that, and pull the string over. Then go around, go under my hand, pull it tight, then bring it back around and pull that string through that loop, pull tight, and there you have it. And when you want to go untie that sack, pull it like that right there, and it unwraps. So we'll show you again. Hold your pinky out, then grab it, go over these two fingers, go all the way around, go just like that to where it grabs that tail, pull around one more time, keep it pulled tight, pull through the loop, and then pull that loop tight, and there you go. I wish I knew how many times I've tied that knot in my life. Because I mean, we used this knot for back when Daddy used to raise a lot of wheat, or he raised a lot of corn, or soybeans. Anytime we'd sack any of that stuff up, you know, we'd use that knot to tie the sacks. And then all the feed that we've ground since I was a little boy, I mean, I've tied this knot a bunch. I could about tie it with my eyes closed. But years ago, y'all seen the equipment we're using, and obviously that's not ours. That's my daddy's. That's Daddy's tractor. That's Daddy's grinder. But years ago, when I was a little boy, all the farmers in this area, none of them had that kind of equipment to grind their feed with. You would take it to the local feed mill and have them grind it. You know, all the farmers would raise their corn or their wheat, their soybeans, whatever. And that used to be a thing for us, was on Saturday mornings, we would load the truck up with corn and go down to the local mill and have the feed ground. And, you know, you'd sack it up, and you'd always try to be the first one there, because it was a pretty popular thing around here. Like, a lot of people did it. A lot of people grew their own corn to feed to their pigs or their cows or whatever. And so you'd have to get down there really early on a Saturday morning and be waiting in line. Because if you didn't get there early on a Saturday morning, you was going to be there all day long. But it was somewhat of a meeting place, I guess you'd say, and you'd catch up on all the local gossip while they were grinding your corn for you. And you know, there's still right now, to my knowledge, there's only one local mill in my area that even does this anymore. But we ended up, well, Daddy ended up finding that hammer mill from a guy that had retired farming, and bought it pretty cheap. And so we started doing it ourselves, and at that point we was kind of able to do it on our own schedule. But like I said, I remember when I was a kid, man, that was always a big thing. We're going to the mill on Saturday morning, you know, and you were always guaranteed you was going to see some folks down there you knew, and it's kind of a thing of the past now. In our area, just in the last 20 years, the number of farmers that's went from raising their own livestock feed to, and you know, most of them just buy it now. Not many people actually grow the crops to feed their livestock anymore. And so those type of businesses have just kind of faded away with the times. I'm gonna have to cut some more strings. I think for now, I'm just going to back this under the shelter where this trailer was sitting. But eventually I'm going to have to figure out a place to store it. So even though we don't have too big of a problem with rats or mice or anything, if they ever get into this, they're going to be in heaven. So I'll have to make room over here in the building to store this. All right, y'all, I got them all tied up. And from what I can tell, I got 33 sacks of feed here. Some of these are obviously smaller than the others. Like you got this sack right here. I mean, that sack probably don't weigh 40 pounds at the most. Then you got some of these bigger sacks. I'm gonna say they're probably pushing close to 80. So, you know, I got no exact number of how much weight of feed is here. The sacks are also a little bit lighter than if they were filled with just plain shelled corn, because the cob itself, where it takes up volume and it weighs less than the kernel of corn. You know, it's these big sacks. If like that big sack right there, if we used shelled corn and got a sack that big, it'd be probably a 100-pound sack of feed. Where right now it's probably more close to like 70 or 80 pounds. Anyways, I'd say that's a pretty good haul. So if we had to go buy 33 bags of sweet feed, they're roughly $10 a bag is what we pay for them. Let's just say that for average. And so that's like $330 worth of feed right there. Had we had a good corn year, y'all know the drought last year just was awful on our corn. So we would have had a whole lot more corn to put in this, and we would have had a whole lot more feed out of it. But you got to keep in mind that I have saved seed corn from what was in this trailer, and we've ground cornmeal from the better looking cobs that was in this trailer. So, you know, some of it has been used. I've even fed some of the cob corn, sowed it into the pigs last fall for them to gnaw on and chew on. So that wasn't all of it, but that was the majority of the corn that we picked. And the best thing about it is it's just like growing your own food or your food for yourself. We know exactly what's in this feed right here. Y'all seen we put hay in it that we grew and baled. We put most of the corn that went into this feed was grown here on our place. We picked it and we grew it. And the only thing I guess we didn't grow was the molasses we put in it and then the minerals that I added to it as well. So, like I said, it's more or less, I think, a mindset thing than anything. Like, you know what you're feeding your animals. And I hope that we can continue to do this right here and be able to grind our own that we actually grew instead of having to buy corn from other places or having to buy feed from other places. That's the ultimate goal. But for now, we'll just use up what little bit we plant each year and keep our fingers crossed that this year planting corn, our corn crop does better than last year. In my opinion, there's nowhere but up from here. Are they eating it?
Yeah.
You still got it. Did you got any mixed in for candy?
Yeah, she's probably already eaten it.
Oh.
Look, you want to see what green grass does for milk production?
Yeah, and so the last 2 days, these cows have been on some really, really lush grass. I turned them out on the roadbed down there and on the other side of the fence. And they've mowed it all for me, so I didn't have to mow it with a lawnmower or anything. But I let the cows mow it, and man, I'll tell you what, they have been in high heaven the last few days. But unfortunately, they have now eaten all that grass.
All right, you got her?
This is the regular sweet feed we've been.
That's that high protein.
Oh, okay. This is just a regular old sweet feed she's been eating. Oh, Maggie, you going? Oh, I thought you was milking under there.
She usually milks the front one, but that's the little man's favorite one too, apparently. So today it was empty. So she sprays her stuff on there for me.
So let's go out here and make sure the cows cleaned their tray. Look at this. There ain't nothing left of it. They eat it. Perfect. So hopefully this turns out to be some pretty good feed for the cows, and you know, we're using something that we grew that we already had. And like I said, I hope we can continue to do it as long as we're able to do it, and as long as we get a decent crop of corn every year.
Watch your hands, don't let them mash your fingers, okay?
But anyways, y'all, I guess we got to finish feeding everything else. Megan's got to get the milk in the house. And
we just really wanted to bring you along and show you what the feed looked like that we ground with our very own corn. So
yeah,
we were pretty ecstatic about it.
Even though it's not the first time I've ground cow feed with corn, but it's pretty cool knowing that it's with the corn we grew. So it is pretty exciting. And like I said, hopefully we can continue to do it.
Yep, we'll see.
We'll see. I don't know. I got big plans this year.
But anyways, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed today's video. Hope you might have learned a little something. Till we see y'all on the next one.
Y'all have a good one.
Have a good one.